Hi there. You can see some of you have already turned up. I'm just going to wait for a few more people, and we're just a minute early. Some of you will be tuning in. For those of you that are already here, hi everyone. For those of you that are already here, my name's Hannah, by the way, and there's a little feature at the bottom of your screen that says raise hand. If you could just raise your hand if you can hear me okay. Cool, looks like a few of you can hear me okay. If you can't hear me just yet, I popped a few easy instructions in the chat box. So if you find the chat box and scroll to the top, there's some instructions there on how to hear me okay. So yeah, just follow those. I'll give you a couple minutes. Hopefully you'll all be able to hear me fine by then. So I'll just give you a couple minutes there. And while you guys are all trying to just make sure you can hear me fine, should also let you know that I have another one of our Active Adventures New Zealand gurus with me today. She's not going to be here on screen, but you guys, if you have any questions along the way, you can chat her, and if it's something that needs to be answered straight away, she will be there to help you guys out. Her name is Amy, so if you see a message from Amy, that's her. But yeah, any other questions along the way, pop them in the Q&A. So if something comes up along the way, feel free to just jot it down under the Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen. Type it in there and I'll come to your questions at the end. Okay? So can everyone hear me? If you haven't raised your hand already, just raise your hand, make sure you can all hear me okay? Cool. Looks like most of you can. If you still can't hear me, just chat in the chat box and Amy should be able to yeah, give me a hand. I'll give you a hand, sorry. All right, so we're going to get started. So my name's Hannah. I am a little bit about me and how I came to Active. So I'm a born and bred Kiwi, as we say it. I grew up in Tauranga, Mount Maunganui. It's on the North Island. So most of you will know that New Zealand has two main islands, the North and the South. Since then, I've been living and travelling all over the world, but kept visiting my parents who moved down south here to Queenstown. I fell in love with the scenery and all the outdoor activities and opportunities, so working at Active Adventures was a natural step. And yeah, now I get to basically live the dream and chat to folks like you guys about how awesome my own backyard is every day. Cool, so I've pretty much been over the housekeeping before we get started. Yeah, you'll see the little raise your hand feature, which I've already mentioned. Might have some questions for you along the way. And yeah, just feel free to, if I ask you to raise your hand, press that little button. And yeah, we're going to use the Q&A button for any questions along the way. Like I said, Amy will be there to help you if anything needs to be asked straight away. Otherwise, I will allow a bit of time at the end to go over your questions. Rightio. So, who we are and what we do. So, while I do this, I am just going to launch a little poll. I'm just going to pop that, launch that there for you guys to see. Feel free to answer that if you want. But yeah, a little bit about us as a company. We're a Kiwi-owned and operated company based out of Queenstown. We've been operating for over 23 years now. We've been running these trips for a very long time. We take small groups around backcountry New Zealand, and it's all done under your own steam. So that's through activities like hiking and biking, kayaking. The whole point of our trips is to get you guys away from the crowds and more off the beaten track into the real backcountry stuff that only the locals know about. We also do love our creature comforts though, so at the end of the day, you'll get the best of both worlds, I promise. Something I should also note about our trips is that yes, we are active, but our trips aren't designed for crazy triathletes. It's all about going at your own pace, and it's really important to us that you're all out there enjoying yourselves, taking lots of stops along the way, enjoying all the beautiful scenery, because you know that's what it's all about. So yeah, we also run trips in the Himalayas, South America and Europe, but today I'm just going to be focusing on one of our trips down here in New Zealand. Rightio, so before we begin, I'm just going to let you know that I'll be keeping things nice and short this evening. I'll talk for about 20 minutes, and then, yeah, there's just so much I could talk about. So I'll just be covering the main points and highlights, and then a reminder that if you have any questions on the way, pop them in the Q&A. We'll get to them at the end. Cool, so the Rimu trip. Now, this is our signature 14-day trip, ultimate South Island adventure. It's a 2-week trip that takes you around all the most beautiful and remote parts of the South Island. For those of you that don't know much about the two islands, the South Island is your quintessential New Zealand. So think incredible mountain ranges and beautiful lakes. Lastly, my favorite part about this trip is that we get the option to tailor the trip slightly in the first few days. So overnight, so we get a choice between 3 options. You get to choose between an overnight hiking experience and a 3-day sea kayaking or biking trip. So the trip starts and finishes in, well, we'll get there in a second. The most international flights to New Zealand arrive into Auckland, which is in the North Island. From here, it's just a short domestic hop to Christchurch, which is here. So hopefully you guys can all see my mouse. Raise your hand if you can see my mouse circling around Christchurch. Cool, looks like you guys can see that. So that's where the, it's a short domestic hop from Auckland to Christchurch in the South Island, where we start the trip. Super easy flight. And yeah, if you guys need a hand with flights, we can put you in touch with a travel agent who knows our trips really well and works closely with us. So we can put you in touch if you need a hand there. And yeah, the trip starts and finishes in Christchurch. So once we meet as a group in the morning of the first day of the trip, we are going to make our way up along the east coast here to a small seaside town called Kaikoura, which is just here. So Kaikoura, it's nestled right by the ocean. It's a small seaside town, and it's well known for its abundant wildlife. So you're going to see lots of, you're certainly going to see lots of these guys, the fur seals. You might even encounter some blue penguins, whales, dolphins, and seabirds. So you'll get some pretty special encounters here, and our experienced local guides know a lot of the best spots to make sure you guys get up close and see some of the awesome and unique wildlife that inhabit this area. The first day of the trip here in Kaikoura, it's a really easy day. We know that some of you have come from afar, so we're going to be keeping that day nice and easy. And yeah, we're going to do a hike along the Kaikoura Peninsula to a fur seal colony. So you're going to see these guys. That hike is about 2 to 3 hours, no big elevation gains, just to ease you into things on your first day. Cool, so after Kaikoura, we are going to be heading up a wee bit further to Marlborough. Now, Marlborough is one of our famous wine regions. You'll get a chance to visit one of our local wineries in the morning. We'll have a nice, beautiful picnic lunch there before we break off into our various activities that I said, that I mentioned at the start, where you can tailor your trip slightly. So we meet together, have that lunch, and then, like I said, break off into our activities. Now, it is starting from the afternoon of day 2. You'll get the option between the 3 choices. Now, the first one is hiking Nelson Lakes. It's an overnight hiking adventure staying in backcountry huts. So it's a real Kiwi experience. The second option, kayaking Marlborough Sounds. Now we're going to be exploring secluded coves and sounds with your paddle in hand. And yeah, you're going to be staying at this beautiful lodge called Tanglewood Lodge. It's actually on its own private bay. So it backs right onto its own private bay. Like little white sandy beach, turquoise coloured water surrounded by native tree ferns. And yeah, it's really flexible, the kayaking. So you don't need any previous paddling experience. But if you are experienced, the guides can certainly challenge you. Now, the third option, biking Queen Charlotte Track, that is, yeah, just another unique way to see those sounds. You'll also be staying at Tanglewood Lodge. I could talk for hours, though, on all three different options, so I'm just going to keep things simple today. I'm just going to tell you a wee bit about my favourite, which, yeah, it's hiking Nelson Lakes, by the way. But before I move on, is there anyone perhaps interested in getting a little bit more information about the kayaking option? If you could just raise your hand there, if there's anyone that might be interested in the kayaking. Okay, yeah, so some of you might be interested, so I'll make sure to get you guys, I can see there, some information after on the kayaking option. Is there anyone that may be interested in the biking option? Raise your hand. Cool. Looks like, yeah, some interest in the biking option too. Righty-o. So we will now move on to talking about my favourite, the hiking Nelson Lakes. So yeah, it's a multi-day, 3-day, 2 nights overnight. On this 3-day, 2-night overnight hike, there's no need to carry in tents because we're going to be staying in 2 beautiful backcountry huts. This is a picture down here of one of them. The huts are really well maintained and they have full kitchen and toilet facilities. So even when you're in the middle of nowhere with no road access, you can still enjoy things like a candlelit dinner and a warm bed. Bear in mind that these are the only 2 nights on the trip when the sleeping is dorm style, so it's not the case on the kayaking and biking overnight options. Yeah, so it's off the beaten track, so remote. You will literally feel like you have all of New Zealand to yourself, as you can see from this picture here. Yeah, so we hike up to these huts. This picture here is the second hut. We hike all the way up. That day's a little bit challenging, but boy, the views are just, they are so rewarding. You get right up, you wake up the next morning, you look out right over the lake that you just hiked past, and you can just see the Southern Alps for miles and miles and miles. It really is like nothing else you've seen. And then, yeah, obviously the unforgettable scenery along the way. Which is your beach forests, big lakes, even bigger mountains. Right, after that, so that's 3 days where we're doing the options. We all meet back together and then we're going to head across here to the west coast, which is this coast down here. So the west coast of the South Island, it's completely unique and the most incredible hiking terrain in the world. The western side of the Southern Alps, you know, there's rainforest, and then you've got the beach forest, glacial carved rivers that run through more forest and then out to the beach and the Tasman Sea. It's incredible. You can pass through all that different terrain and vegetation in one 5-mile hike. It's so remote as well on the west coast that actually only, I think it's 2% of our population actually lives there. So yeah, it's just like this massive playground for people like us that want to go do some hiking and exploring. So spending 3 days here on the west coast, day 5, we are going to do a hike through some of the tropical rainforest, and introducing you to it's a very subtropical feel here. You can see this picture. And yeah, lots of nikau palms. It's almost like out of Jurassic Park. And then we're going to visit the famous Pancake Rocks in the afternoon. So they are limestone formations that have been formed over hundreds and hundreds of years by the relentless pounding of the ocean onto the cliffside. I was actually quietly surprised. This was one of my highlights on the trip. It blew me away. I've never seen anything like it. Then that afternoon we're going to head to Hokitika. If you guys have heard of Punamu, which is the Māori greenstone, this is the best place to pick up some of that. The next day, we are going to be out kayaking Okarito Lagoon. This is a picture here of Okarito Lagoon. You can see the little snow-capped mountains in the back, beautiful calm waters. Now, Okarito Lagoon is in a cute little beach town on the west coast. Population 30 people, I believe, so there's hardly anyone that lives there. You'll get the opportunity to kayak there, keeping your eyes peeled for the white heron. Now, this is one of the only breeding grounds, so if you are a birder or you're keen to see some of the bird life in New Zealand, this is a really special day. Yeah, there's only about 200 of these birds left, so if you spot one, it's a pretty rare and special sight. Yeah, and also the local kayak operator there, he is a world of knowledge. So if you do join us, I encourage you to question him on the surrounding Southern Alps. He's got some pretty amazing stories. Then that night, we head off and we arrive to the heart of New Zealand glacier country, Franz Josef. Franz Josef, this is our biggest glacier in New Zealand. This is a picture of it here. And yeah, it's a really exciting day for a lot of people. It's a flexible day there in France, so you'll get to choose between two awesome hikes, you get to choose between two options. One is the hike. It's an incredible hike with right up to a viewing point of the glacier, or you can take the breathtaking heli hike. The hike, it's my personal favorite. You wind your way up through the surrounding forest there, and then you pop out at these points where the trees clear, and you're right adjacent to the glacier. It's just stunning. It's a really unforgettable view. Cool, so moving on from the west coast, we're going to be heading down to Hawea, which is here. This is a day where we're going to do some biking. So now, just should note that the biking, again, you don't need any experience. It's vehicle supported. So if you want to do just half, by all means, that's fine. You can stop at the halfway mark and say, yep, I've had enough. And we can drive you into the closest town, which is where the rest of the group meets up. The trail itself, it's a beautiful trail. You're cycling along Hawea River. It gives you your first glimpse of Central Otago's rugged landscape, and it takes you all the way through towards Wanaka. Wanaka is a small alpine town, and it's nestled right between huge mountains and a big lake out the front. It's a wide gravel-packed trail, so it's really easy biking and no big elevations. If you do choose to do the whole bike, it's about, we say, depending on how fast you are, it can take between 2 to 4 hours. So after Hawea, we are going to take a short but dramatic journey over the Crown Range. Excuse me. So over the Crown Range, bringing you to the shores of Wakatipu, Queenstown. Excuse me. So yeah, Queenstown, as most people know it now, Queenstown is actually where I am right now talking to you guys. This is actually my view. I'm pointing with the little cursor down here. This is actually where our office is based down here, and I might actually just looking out the window because I want to show you the view. I don't know how good the quality of the camera will be, but we'll give it a go. I don't know if you guys can see, but it's not the best quality, and the sun's just hiding behind some clouds, but I'm literally right on the lake. That's my view every day, and on a beautiful sunshiny day like this, this is what I get to see every day. So yeah, Queenstown, it's your free day. It's your day to do anything that you guys want. Queenstown is the adventure capital of the world, and definitely New Zealand. So whatever you guys want to do, you know, if it's not in the itinerary, let us know. We can point you in the right direction that day. Excuse me. Moving on from Queenstown, it just gets more and more exciting. After Queenstown, we are heading to Fiordland National Park. Now, this is the home to Milford Sound and a number of New Zealand's great walks. Raise your hand if you've heard of Milford Sound. I'm quite curious to know. Is anyone here? Oh yeah, there's a few of you. Yep. Oh, looks like almost all of you. A lot of you have heard of Milford Sound, and it's because it is a big highlight of the trip. Fiordland National Park is just a very unique part of New Zealand and different to what you've already seen on this Rimu trip. So on day 10, we're going to get to Milford Sound. We're going to hike the Rootburn track on the first day there. Now that's one of our 9 great walks in New Zealand. We're going to hike the most stunning part of the Rootburn track. I certainly think this is the most stunning part. So we hike all the way up through, it's called Key Summit. You hike up through this lush bush, and then you just pop out at the top, and then there's just unsurpassed views of the Hollyford Valley and Lake Marion. So after that hike, we're going to carry on. It's a short drive to towards Homer Tunnel. Homer Tunnel is a very famous tunnel in Fiordland for 2 reasons. The view on the other side once you get through, and before that you'll get a chance to hang out with the cheeky kea. And some of you have probably heard of the kea. It's our alpine parrot. I think he is the only bird in the world that has a call to play, which just blows my mind. They are just the funniest little animals. So they have built a little kea playground there actually in front of Homer Tunnel, because it's a place where people stop, and the birds, they like to play and they like to eat people's cars. So they've made this little playground and they all hang out on there, and we'll get out and stop, and you'll definitely get a chance to see some keas, I would say, there. When we get through the Homer Tunnel, you emerge out the other side to this massive glacial carved valley, giant granite walls which just tower up above you as you wind your way down into Milford Sound. We're going to be staying that night in Milford Sound at the Milford Chalet, so it's one of the only accommodations actually in Milford Sound, because it's just an extremely remote location. There's not a lot down there but the beautiful scenery. This gives us a huge advantage staying there, because the next morning we're up early, beating the crowds. We are going to be sea kayaking in Milford Sound. Now, most tourists, they stay in Queenstown, they catch a bus at about really early in the morning. It takes them quite a long time to get there. They all turn up at the same time, and they just see Milford Sound from the deck of a ship. So the awesome part about this Rimu trip is the unique way to experience the fjord. Cool, and then to top that all off, that afternoon, we're going to take you to another one of our great walks in Fiordland called the Kepler Track, which is again very unique to the Rootburn. This is a wee picture here of Milford Sound. As you can see, it's just beautiful. It blows me away every time I go there. It's different every time. So after Fiordland, we're making our way back up the South Island now. It's a bit of a longer drive this day. Like I said, we keep our driving distances to a minimum. But in some cases, in order to see all these incredible spots and the real change of vegetation and the change in the South Island, there is a bit of driving here and there. But we're going to be taking plenty of stops, interesting stops along the way. As we make our way up, we'll be stopping in Old Town Cromwell. Cromwell has a really old gold mining history. It's very interesting. So we'll stop there, we'll check out Old Town Cromwell and all the old gorgeous buildings. It's right by another lake. There are so many beautiful lakes here. Every one of them is different. We'll stop there and have some lunch. And then we're going to head over the Lindis Pass, and we wind up here at this beautiful view. This is Braemar Station. It's an old shearers' quarters and high country sheep farm. So we're staying here the night. It's yeah, it's actually a real highlight for a lot of people on the trip, staying at Braemar Station. One, for the reason when you wake up the next morning is this is your view here of this is Mount Cook right here, the highest mountain in New Zealand. And the night before at Braemar Station, if it's a clear night, the views, if you look up and there's no clouds in the sky, the stars are incredible. Just because it's quite a remote area, there's not a lot of lights in cities around. Then the next morning we're going to get up and we're going to go to Mount Cook. You will get to choose between two hikes directly opposite or right below Mount Cook. Now the Huka Valley track, glacier track, is the one that's right below Mount Cook. It winds its way through these tussocks and across gushing rivers to the foot of one of the biggest glaciers in the area. It's filled with icebergs, and yeah, it sits right below Mount Cook. Then there is the second option, which is a wee bit more challenging than the Huka Valley Glacier Track, and that is the Mueller Ridge hike. That's my favourite because this is a picture of it here. You get the best views of Mount Cook, and it gets you right up directly opposite it, and you'll get views of the glacier and also all the surrounding mountains. It's just kind of one of those humbling moments when you get up there. You're just like, wow. And yeah, that brings us to the final day of the trip, where we have to say goodbye to all of our new friends and the guides as well. It's a very sad time. You'll probably make some lifetime friends on this trip, and yeah, we have to head back towards Christchurch. We can drop you off at the airport in time for any flights after 4 p.m. or anywhere in the city at around 3. So that brings us to the Q&A. Firstly, I just wanted to let you guys know that I have popped the toll-free numbers here for you guys if you want to get a bit more information on things like the hiking distances and elevations, contact details for help with flights, or if you just want to chat through any more of your questions. I'm sure you'll have some. And yeah, you can chat with me or one of our other New Zealand gurus who are equally as knowledgeable, and they'd be just as happy to chat with you whenever about that Rimu trip or New Zealand in general. So I am also, for those of you that want to learn a little bit about when these Rimu trips are scheduled and when you can join us down here, I'm going to pop a link in the chat to our trip dates. So I'll just pop that there now for you guys. Hopefully you can all see this coming through. Now, some of you raise your hands and just make sure that you can see that. That would be helpful for me. Cool, looks like you can, that's great. So yeah, if you guys want to click on that link while it's up, that will take you to the trip dates page, and then you can have that up. So when I finish the webinar, you don't lose that link. So that brings us to some questions time. We'll try to keep it short, but if you guys, if you have any questions, I can see one here. Rick, are we backpacking with gear, tents for camping, sleeping bags? Now that is a really good question. I'm really glad you asked that, Rick. So yes, if this is the overnight hiking option that you choose, which is the one on the afternoon of day 2, so it's that 3-day overnight hiking experience, or you can choose the kayaking and the biking. If you choose the overnight hiking 3-day experience, those 3 days you'll need about a 60-litre pack, enough to just carry a sleeping bag and your toiletries and a spare pair of clothes. It's not going to be heavy, and you're not going to be camping, so you don't need to carry a tent. The rest of the trip, it's just your day pack. All you need is your day pack for the rest of the hikes, and all your other gear comes along with us and is safely secured. So hopefully that answers that question there. Is there any other questions? Cool. How many guides on the trip? Danny, good question. We have typically 2 guides. 2 guides. It gives us heaps of flexibility as well. So one guide kind of heads up the front if anyone wants to push on, go hard, and then one kind of hangs around the back. So that really allows you to all go at your own pace. You certainly don't want you to feel rushed and like you're holding anyone up. Yeah. Any other questions? Cool. I'm sure, oh yeah, we've got another question. Mike, heli hike, have I done the heli hike? I actually personally haven't done the heli hike because I love the hiking a lot more. The heli hike, I mean, I don't want to say it's a bad thing, but it is a bit more of a gimmicky thing. I think, you know, it's nothing strenuous, so you get onto the actual ice, onto the glacier, but if you are after something a wee bit more challenging or to get, you know, a bigger picture of the glacier, the hiking option, that's my favorite, and that's what I'd go for. Cool. Karma, what is your usual group size? Usual group size is 14 people. So yeah, that's the maximum we go with. We take a minimum of 3, so if we get a minimum of 3, the trip goes, and we don't take any more than 14. We like to keep our group sizes nice and small. It's way more personal. It's just a much better trip that way. So yeah, nice and small, the groups. Rick, I'll just pop, I'm going to type you the dates. Give me 2 seconds. You can see that you're missing the dates there. I'm just going to send them to you. Let me know if you got those. I've just lost your question there though, Rick. Sorry about that. But hopefully, oh no, I've got you. Best time for the coolest weather. Got enough heat there? That's a great question. And yeah, a lot of people are trying to escape the heat. So we're obviously opposite seasons to you if you're over the other side, where so the coolest weather, if you're looking, I mean, we don't actually get extremes down here in New Zealand. So our summers, the wider window is November through March, and then the winters are, your March through sort of September, or April through to September. And our summers, we don't really get extreme heat waves down here. We're very lucky. So I think the temperatures in Fahrenheit, it's about sort of in the 70s and 80s in the summer. So yeah, and then in the winter, 50s and 60s. So we're quite fortunate down here with our weather. Cool, I hope that answers that question. And yeah, are you flexible about the rate or speed you need to reach Mueller Hut? From Patricia, good question again. Absolutely. So yeah, we want you to experience some of these views. So like I said before, we have 2 guides. It means you can go at your own pace, take the stops along the way. I really encourage you to reach out after this and grab reach out to me, and I'll send you the hiking distances and elevations, because that gives you a real feel of sort of the activity level of the trip. But totally, you can go at your own pace along the way. So yeah, we'll get you as far as we can up there. And I think that's, oh, Mike, sorry, I missed that one. Is there an opportunity to fish in the rivers? Absolutely. So again, that's why we have that Queenstown free day. We get a lot of people that are keen to do some fishing. And there's lots of opportunities to do that in and around Queenstown. So if that's something that you're keen to do, when you book with us, let us know, and we can put you in the best direction and get you all sorted for that. So definitely lots of opportunities. If there's any other activities you guys want to do down here, just let us know. We're really flexible, and we can see if we can accommodate it. Cool. How long was the hike to Nelson Lake? So the first day is not as difficult. It's about 2 to 3 hours to the first hut. The second day up to Angela's hut, that day is a wee bit more challenging. So it's about, it can take anywhere between sort of 6 and 7 hours. So it is a wee bit more challenging, but that's why we've got the kayaking and biking options. And for the most part, all the other hikes on the trip are really flexible. This one, you need to be the 3-day overnight hike hiking option. You need to be able to be comfortable to get from hut to hut. So that second day, it is a longer day. There is some elevation involved as well, about 2,000 feet, just over. So yeah, it is a challenging day, but like I said, you can take lots of stops along the way. We'll be going at your own pace. Once you get there, you will not regret it. You will feel like you've really accomplished something, and you'll probably feel like you deserve a cup of coffee and that candlelit dinner that I talked about. And Mike, do we need bring crampons? No, you certainly won't need crampons. We're not doing any extreme ice hiking. If you do the heli hike, you'll be provided with all the gear. And yeah, I think I've managed to get through all the questions. I'm just going to have a quick look. It looks like I got most of them there. So yeah, if that's it for now, yeah, I'll say goodbye to you guys. It's been awesome getting to share with you one of my favorite trips down here in New Zealand, and I really hope you can come down and join us on the Rimu trip. So yeah, definitely get in touch if you have any more questions. We yeah, would be happy to chat with you guys. So it's been a real pleasure. I'm going to say goodbye. Or if you guys are finished now, you can say goodbye to me. Awesome. Goodbye.